Hey, Sharon, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hello, Sharon.
Hello, great to be here. Thank you so much.
We're glad to have you on the show because we're going to be talking about a tough topic, a topic that really enough conversation is not happening around, but it's a topic that needs to be discussed more. So we're happy to have you on to help break it all down and unpack it for us. But before we start digging into your great advice, can you just take a moment and say hello to everyone that is tuned in and let them know what you are all about?
Well, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon Jenkins. I'm currently the Senior Vice President and Chief Underwriter for Legal and General America Companies, Banner Life and William Penn Life out of New York. And so I've had the pleasure of serving my company for the past 38 years. Started out as a cub underwriter in the risk selection process. So just to be able to have an opportunity to share with your audience the importance of life insurance and the devastating effects that can, follow a family that are not insured or underinsured. I think it's been great, and I really and most genuinely appreciate the opportunity to share that with you.
Well, you just said it, how important life insurance is, but it is something that is often ignored or put to the side or looked at something that I will get to eventually. It's not a necessity for me right now. Being that it's such an important topic, why is it something that we continuously, more than not, put off?
I think very honestly, it's that people don't want to talk about death and dying. They don't want to confront what that means for their own mortality and what that means for loved ones. And so I think that we have to stop and give pause to thought to say, what about those family members? What about those that are dependent on me? What selfless act can I engage that will provide them with the protection that they need to be able to sustain their lifestyle and to be able to put them at a level playing field from a financial planning perspective. So I think that we have to just get very serious and very adult and mature about the topic and look more towards the benefits that life insurance can provide our families rather than the topic of death and dying.
So very good. I think you hit it right there on the nail. The benefits of life insurance. Let's talk about that. So for someone, I'm sure, again, a lot of people have heard about life insurance. They've heard about even the necessity of having it, but they may not really know the benefits of having life insurance.
So when you think about it, when you think about life insurance, you think about that it is there for the sole purpose of providing financial protection, financial stability, to be able, as I said, fund that lifestyle that should not be disrupted at the unanticipated death of a wage earner or a loved one. So I think that it's really important that we step back and understand, what can it do for us? So one, it can pay off a mortgage. It can pay off debt. Credit card debt, loan, personal or business loan debt. It can help to be able to send children off to college when that wage earner is no longer there to provide that steady stream of income. So when you think about and narrow your focus on that aspect of life insurance, I think it is more comforting to realize what you are doing in the long term and selflessly remove yourself from thinking about your own mortality. So I think that's where the real value is being able to maintain that lifestyle.
And I think a word that just jumped out is you literally just said it was value. Not too long ago, probably like a half hour ago, I was scrolling on social media and I saw a post that said, you have insurance on your phone, but you don't have insurance on your life. And it's just like, it goes to the priority of like, there are way more people whose cell phones are insured than they have on their life. And I think it's more a mindset of a present tense mindset. Like the phone is still like, if I've dropped this phone, then I need to get my replacement right away. But we think that we have forever to live, especially depending on what age we are or if we're, perceived to be healthy. And so again, it's just like something I'll get to later, something I'll get to later.
And sometimes I think it's not necessarily that we'll think that we can live forever, but almost like, hey, when I'm gone, it's not my problem anyway. It's not my responsibility, right?
You're saying something now.
And I think that that's a very selfish perspective to have, because you have loved ones that are really dependent on you. Like I remember when you lost your father, oh my gosh, it'd be 5 years. Oh, 5 years this month.
Yep.
And I remember seeing the peace on my mother-in-law's face of not having to stress about anything financial. It was because they knew that they put things in place. He had a life insurance policy in place, and it was able to make the grieving process a whole lot easier.
Yes, it's very comforting. Once you know you have that policy in place, it gives you that security. It gives you that comfort. It's that peace of mind that you just mentioned, to know that everything is okay. And after the dust has settled and we have gone through our mourning and grieving process, that there will be this rich benefit there that will really help us, to move forward and navigate through. And so what better legacy do you leave your family is to say that I cared enough, I thought long and hard, I deliberated about all that I had and planned for you and in store for you, and I have left the mechanism in place for that to happen.
So good.
For that to be realized. I mean, I think that it's really very important. We have to focus more on it is an integral part of our financial plan.
Yeah.
To be able not to burden our family with, now I have to cover the mortgage. Now I have to struggle to be able to put the children through college because I no longer have that stream of income that the wage earner was providing. So absolutely, it is really taking yourself out of the equation and putting more your family and your dependents and what it is you want for them,
Yeah. Now, who is a prime candidate for life insurance? Like, is it for everybody? Should everybody look into it? Who should be applying for life insurance, or who should have life insurance?
I think that anyone that has an economic loss, a perceived economic loss that they need to cover for, should have insurance. So it might be that young college student who is loaded with student loan debt and now credit card debt, and they don't want to leave that burden to their parents. So young people in college, or young people who are working and have responsibility and debt or dependence, those individuals need life insurance. Married couples need insurance to be able to offset the expenses that need to be covered in the event of that wage earner's death.
I think a lot of times people think, oh, well, I don't have children. But I love your scenario of a college student. Like most times they probably will be leaving behind or can leave behind student loan debt. So to not have your family or your parents have to take on that responsibility, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Life insurance, there's several different types of versions of policies that you can buy. Can you break down some of the more well-known ones and what your advice is on the type that we should be pursuing?
Simply put, I would say there's term insurance and there's permanent insurance. Term insurance is going to cover it's very temporary, and it covers a very finite period of time. And you will find that there are durations that expand beyond 20 and 25 years onto 30-year term, 35-year term, and 40-year term. Wider range of periods that can be covered. And it's relatively less expensive than the permanent plans of insurance. When you think about whole life is to cover your entire lifespan. And so because it typically has a cash value component to it, it tends to be more expensive.
In regards to the company that you work for, Legal and General America, I like the fact that they have a 40-year term. Like I remember when
amazing, right?
That's amazing. When we took out our policy, I never heard of a 40-year term.
Yeah.
And so I think I like the fact that you guys give options. We're big fans of term life insurance. Honestly, that is the only life insurance that you would ever hear His and Her Money, Ty and Talent recommend because we do know that it's most cost effective. And a lot of times people, the excuse of not getting life insurance is because they think that it's very expensive, right? And so we like to try to knock down first off the excuses because term life insurance can be very, very reasonable. But they also have very large terms. Hopefully by the time your term runs out, you can be self-insured. Maybe your mortgage will be paid off by that time. You won't have any debt. Or if you have to choose another policy, you'll be able to do so. So
Agree. And I think, and I agree to your point, of course, I love my company. I'm passionate about my company. I think that we do term better than anyone.
Yes.
We can expand our product portfolio to include 30, 35, and 40-year term. And because it is so cost effective, it can meet the needs of a growing family. It can meet the needs of that young college student or recently graduated undergraduate student or graduate student or law student who really doesn't have the flow of currency and dollars, right? They're not making the coins, but they can afford a life insurance policy term to offset the debt that they've acquired, right? And to be able to pay it in a way to sustain that policy so that if there is a unanticipated kind of premature death, they're covered.
Yeah.
And I think to your point that term serves the day.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of less complicated a little bit.
Sure.
So how can someone apply? Like, what's the process? Okay, they're listening to this episode and they're like, this is probably the 5th or 6th person that has spoken about life insurance, right? And now I need to be active and do it.
Yes.
How do they apply for life insurance? What's the process like? Do they have to pay for a physical? Like, what's the process? Take someone from the process from day one.
You can do an e-application from any mobile device, or you can do a traditional paper application. From the point that is completed and it's handed off to the company, our company, case in point, is that it's going to then go through a front-end support, kind of setting the file up, the application. It's going to collect some data for us, some preliminary data, and then it's going to feed it over to the underwriting team. And the underwriting team is the team of professionals who take in all of the data from the application and some medical questions, prompt ordering of some additional requirements that we can go through. And then they're going to take that in, they're going to assess, analyze, and then determine who gets the insurance and at what rate, what premium. And so it's a very deliberate, very methodical approach because we want to make sure that we are not overcharging the client. We want to make sure we have full, profound understanding of where their mortality profile fits in our pricing, and to be able to align that price with their mortality profile. So typically what happens is we will order requirements. So there might be a physical examination that we would schedule for the client, and it's going to really capture general vitals, height, weight, pulse, blood pressure. It's going to take the medical history. The examiner will then draw a urine specimen to check for some urine findings, screening for any abnormalities, and then it's going to take some blood, serum, to be able to check for other conditions. And typically the blood profile is going to look at liver function, kidney function, look at glucose, and lipids, cholesterol, triglycerides. So that data is then handed over to the underwriter. In some instances, we might need additional information as like an electrocardiogram, which is a tool used for screening coronary artery disease. On a rare occasion, a chest x-ray looking for heart enlargement or chronic pulmonary disease or unsuspected cancer. And then more often than not, we'll look to get medical records, particularly if there's a medical history. So if somebody's got a history of diabetes or a history of coronary artery disease, we would want to get medical records from their physician upon an authorization to secure same, but to be able to augment the data that we have and then to be able to render an underwriting decision. So that's the long and short of the process.
So some people like to self-diagnose themselves, right? So they're like, oh, I already know I'm not going to get approved because I have a pre-existing condition. Maybe they have high blood pressure. Maybe they have diabetes. What would you say to that person? Should they not go through the process, or should they go through the process of seeing if they can be approved for life insurance?
Absolutely, you want to go through the process, and more the reason that you want life insurance. If you have a medical condition or a history, that doesn't preclude you to get life insurance. You may have to pay more for that, and then certainly there are some conditions which we are not able to insure. But the broad swath of conditions that we see are as you just described. We see diabetics, either adult onset diabetics or insulin-dependent diabetics, and those individuals can get life insurance. People that are treated hypertensive, they have elevated blood pressure, or they have elevated cholesterol, they can get life insurance. People with coronary artery disease or cerebral vascular disease, they can get insurance. People with a past history of cancer can get. So I cannot stress the importance of putting aside what you believe your mortality is. It's a matter of just getting the information, understanding the history. Absolutely, people should apply. More, again, I can't stress enough, those are the individuals that need life insurance.
Yeah.
And those that don't have the history, disease processes are insidious. So why not hedge your bet and get the insurance you need while you are in the most healthy state, so that you can keep and maintain that 35, 40-year policy when you are more likely to develop some health history.
It's time to get your life insurance together with Legal & General America. As one of the nation's leaders in low-cost, high-quality life insurance to over 1.3 million families, we know how to protect you. For nearly 7 decades, we've been the first and only carrier to add 10 more years of security to our policies for a total of 40 years of life insurance coverage. If you need basic protection until retirement, that deal is perfect. Legal & General America makes understanding and applying for life insurance easy. Our agents are standing by to help you determine the best coverage to fit your family's needs. Visit hisandhermoney.com/LGA to get started on your journey toward financial wellness.
And I think that, like you said earlier, I think one of the big stumbling blocks for a lot of people is they have in their mind that life insurance is like out of reach for them financially. We know that every situation is personalized, but if there was a conservative average person, like how much could they conservatively be looking to pay for term versus whole, to give them kind of like some perspective on what the cost associated with life insurance could be?
Yeah, that's really difficult because you have female, you have male, it's based on the age, it's based on the medical history, it's based on the product. Is it that 10, 15, 30, 35, 40-year product? It depends upon occupations, avocations. What sports are you engaged in? Do you do heli-skiing? Do you do deep dive, scuba diving? So it's really very hard to say. And then on top of that, we try to further stratify the risk so that we take those with a very distinct risk profile with the most favorable mortality implications and afforded them the best pricing. So it's really difficult for me as an underwriter to be able to share with you a price, and I would not want to disserve your audience by throwing out a number, but I just think that it's important most of all to understand that term insurance is extremely affordable, and that our effort is to be a good steward to both serving the company and to serve the end client. Mm-hmm. So it really is important in capturing as much information as possible about the risk so that we can give the best pricing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that doesn't answer the specific question, but I want to be very,
Yeah, no, I think that was a very good answer. I'm going to say that it can be as low as a meal out at a restaurant. Okay, so I'm not giving a price range out there, but it can literally be as cost effective as it would if you were to go down to that diner down the street, sit down and eat, even for your whole entire family. Yes. So we don't want you to think that it has to be some astronomical price, right? But it is very doable because people are doing it every single day. We do it, and it's very, very cost effective. Fits in our budget really well. Sharon, how much of a life insurance policy should someone take out? Is there a certain dollar amount, or is there a certain take their salary times it by something? What would be your recommendation for someone that's looking for life insurance?
So I would tell you, it all goes back to what's the economic need. What is the loss that you are trying to cover? So if we're trying to cover a stream of income that could be lost because of the wage earner dying prematurely, then we'd want to look at what is that wage earner making on an annual basis. How old are they? So let's take the 29-year-old, who is just started at working out of, let's say, graduate school or law school, and they're earning maybe $50,000 a year. we would allow that individual up to 40 times their earned income. So that is a large amount of insurance that they could establish while their insurability is still very favorable. As you get older, then you'll cut back. So you might be 50 years old and we might look at 20 times your income. So it really depends upon the age of the applicant, their occupation, what their annual income is. And when I look at annual income, I'm looking at all of their income. So I'm looking not just at their salary, but I'm looking at if there's a steady regular bonus that's paid to them or steady stream of dividends. So we want to look at everything to be able to put the most favorable light on the economic need that we're trying to service.
And I think it's important too, because there was a worksheet that I saw on you all's website where it's talked about, I forget the exact title, but like the economic importance of a stay-at-home parent. And you all like broke down like all the different responsibilities that a stay-at-home parent has. And I think that that's an overlooked demographic. Like we think that if one of us works outside the home, then that person is the one that needs the policy. But there also is a high value for a stay-at-home parent because now you got to get a babysitter, now you got to get a chef and things like that. So talk to that person, that couple that has one of them as a stay-at-home parent. Is this something they should be looking into as well? Absolutely.
Absolutely. The cost to replace those services, childcare, cook, cleaner, chauffeur, all of that is very important. So our approach is that we look at the wage earner. We look at how much is the income that's coming from that wage earner. We're looking at their occupation, how much insurance in force that they have, and we will do a like-to-like match with life insurance coverage for that dependent non-working spouse. It can be extremely devastating to have the wage earner to have to quit their job to stay at home to fulfill the same responsibilities that the dependent spouse was providing. So it is, if the wage earner has insurance, that dependent spouse needs to make sure that they have similar coverage, if not matching coverage in force. Absolutely.
Another common comment that we get when we try to have these conversations around the importance of life insurance, they'll say, oh yeah, I remember when I got hired and HR said something about life insurance, so I should have something at my job. And a lot of times it's A, not very much, and B, you become dependent on being employed at that job to have that coverage. So can you speak to the person that has that thought, oh, I have a policy at my employer, so I'm good?
Absolutely. So, group insurance is a very small multiple of an income, if not a minimum. And to your point, it is not portable. So you don't have the freedom to leave and then your current employer and take that coverage with you. So I think that particularly with young people that are of a mindset that you no longer need to stay with your company as long as certainly my generation has, I think that it's critically important for them to realize that individual life insurance you take with you regardless. As long as you are continuing to pay the premiums that are due, you are covered no matter where you go. And so group insurance clearly has its limitations, and that should never be construed to mean that you have sufficient insurance. Mm-hmm. You will not have the ability to take that coverage with you when you look to leave another and move to another employer.
So Sharon, you have been in the industry for a lot of years, right? So yes. You have probably heard stories after stories after stories. Let's make it real for those that are listening. Share with us a story on both ends. One where this particular person had life insurance and either maybe the family was covered and things like that. And on the other where possibly you know of someone that did not have life insurance in place and what was the detriments on their family.
Yeah, so I can share a couple of stories with you. So certainly I have personally received notes from customers who have been very grateful when the insurance policy proceeds were paid out, and they have shared with me what it enabled them to do. I will tell you, 3 weeks ago, I attended a memorial service for a broker whose wife had battled health issues. and she had a life insurance policy with us, and we were able to take care of that. And he was very appreciative of the fact that we responded in the way that we did. But I will tell you, the one thing that really touches me is when we have taken adverse action. We have had to decline an application based on some information that we had developed. And this typically comes off of the lab values where there was an abnormality. And we have declined the application. We have communicated to the proposed insured and the broker as to the basis for that. And we have shared directly with the customer the information that resulted in that adverse action, that declination of coverage. They have then taken that information, gone to their physician, have done a full and complete workup, have identified a undiagnosed medical condition for which they have written back to us and told us, thank you. Had I not realized or had I not gone through this process, I would not have known of this. I have now gotten treatment, and now can you reconsider my application? And we've been able to do that too. So, over the course of my 38 years, I have seen much, but always so touched by those who have realized, one, the benefit and the value of life insurance and how it has changed or maintained their life for the good. And even those that have not been able to get coverage, the fact that we've still, positively impact their life with increased knowledge. So, it's a win-win no matter what the perspective is.
So it is safe to say that insurance companies do pay out on policies and that they're not just taking people's money and throwing it away somewhere.
Oh my gosh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I will tell you that I sit on the front end of the applications coming in the door that we decision on favorably or unfavorably, depending upon the perspective and the expectation of the broker and the client. But I also sit on the claims side. I review the claims that come in, I read the stories, and I participate in the discussion about, the paying of the claim. So for me, it's a full circle moment when I can see the efforts of customers coming in to get insurance, and we price and we approve those policies, and then we are there on the back end to meet our obligation. And that's what we do. We have a long-standing reputation in the industry. We are financially sound. We have a presence, and we stand by our commitment to pay our claims as fully vetted.
Parents, if you all are out there listening, don't get hung up on, should I get insurance for my children or not? What you can do that's really best for your children is to make sure that you're insured.
Yes.
I really feel like that was, especially when we started having our children, we have 3 babies. That was a huge responsibility and a load lifted off of me in knowing that we're covered and that if anything was to happen to us, because we do travel with business and things, like anything can happen, even with both parents at the same time, right? And we're praying that doesn't happen, but our children are covered. And so the caregivers, who will be taking care of your children will be able to have financial peace and not necessarily a burden or a stress. So I can't stress that enough.
I agree with that point. I think the focus should be more on what can I do as a responsible parent to provide for my children. And I think if we keep that as our focus and our driver to action, then everything takes care of itself.
So can you tell everybody a little bit more about Legal and General America and why they are a great resource for life
and
insurance?
How they can apply?
Well, I will tell you, of course, I'm biased because I love my company. I've been associated with the company for 38 years, as I mentioned. I started out as a cub underwriter and worked my way through, and company recognized my efforts. But I tell you, I have a great sense of pride with my company because not only are we about the business of life insurance and protecting families in a very responsible way, but we are very conscious of the communities outside of the policyholder community. And so we're very conscious of supporting community efforts and projects and charities. And we are, our tentacles are far reaching and looking to get engaged in other endeavors. But I think that people should actually reach out to find out and understand why Legal and General America companies are a great fit, that we are financially sound, that we have superior, very strong ratings by the rating agencies that are, that kind of overview the carriers in the business. And I think that we have had a presence for a very long time. So we have a demonstrated commitment. And when you look to find an insurance company that's going to be there to pay the claims and to honor their commitment to you, I think that you have to look at financial strength, and you have to look at presence in the markets. Some carriers come and they leave. You want someone who's got a demonstrated record of being present and committed. So
awesome. And if people want to apply, where can they go?
They can come to our website, and they can put in their address, a zip code, and we will find an agent, a broker that can service their need. Absolutely.
So, and I believe the website is lgamerica.com, or you can also go to hisandhermoney.com/LGA for further details, and all of the links will be in the description box as well.
Sharon, this has been incredible. You have brought a lot of insight to a subject that a lot of people don't really know enough about until now. So thank you so much for sharing this information with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for your efforts to bring greater awareness. I appreciate being a part of it. Thank you.